we recording? Yes, we are. Okay. So basically, I've been super into nutrition for years and, for multiple reasons, which I'm going to go over. But, this really, me getting kind of real deep into it and wanting to, create my own nutrition program and, really start working with people on nutrition kind of came from this idea, which I'm talking about here. It's like, what should you feed a human? Right? We mostly know how to feed dogs and especially livestock. I had read a book about veterinarian nutrition, probably like, again, this is maybe back to my Hurdle and Brown days, maybe even before that, 15 years ago or so, basically about how do you feed different animals, right? And they knew down to the T, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, you feed a dog this, you feed a cat this, you feed a cow this, you feed a pig this, and you don't feed them these other things, right? So it made me really sit back and go, well, so what are you supposed to feed a human, right? And there's another book out right now that's called it's been out for years, called The Omnivore's Dilemma. And you just have all these different diets, right? That, a million diets, a 17-day fix. And, I'm trying to think the keto diet, right? You have intermittent fasting, selective fasting. You have, all these, quick weight loss diets that are out there as well. The Ornish diet, all of these things. And it's like, well, are any of those diets designed with the probably the most important thing in mind first? What are you supposed to feed a human being? Right. And so then it's like, well, okay, if you can even figure that out, well, what are we supposed to feed a human being to get the best performance possible? Right. And, it makes it really challenging to really answer that question. And then, the final question always comes down to is like, well, everybody is so different. Right. But when it comes down to it, like, what is the best way to train and live, to become as athletic as possible as well. Right. And so these were, big questions that I was asking, myself back then. So then, the other side of it was with my own experience here, how in 6 months do you lose 25 to 30 pounds of body fat, increase your lean muscle, get ripped, increase your strength and power, feel great, and improve your performance without PEDs? Right now, and I say this and it says roses at the end because I always like to say that it's like trying to tell somebody what a rose smells like that's never smelled one before. So, and I know, Rocky, you don't know me that well, but I'm going to imagine Noah probably can answer this. Noah, who do you think, or how do you think you lose 25 to 30 pounds of fat and all this stuff in 6 months? Where's that reference coming from?
25 pounds of fat in 6 months. Oh man, the only best answer I have is you starve yourself. Train like crazy.
Relate it back to me. What do you know about me?
Wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling. Exactly. So my senior year of college, right? And actually my junior and senior year of college, I decided to go up from 197 pounds to wrestle at 285 pounds, right? So my weight loss journey, I'm just going to go into this because it'll be easier for us to keep moving, right? I've been super into weight loss and weight management since I was in elementary school, right? So I was 135 pounds in 5th grade, and I had to start getting weighed in for the football team that I played for the little kids football. So, my weight loss nutrition journey started at that time, started, wearing plastic bags and sauna suits and all those types of things. And then, wrestling wasn't a big sport in Butler, where I grew up until really way after I was out of high school. The first year that Butler High School in Pennsylvania, which was at the time was the biggest school in Western Pennsylvania, which wrestling is the biggest, or Pennsylvania is the biggest state for wrestling in the country. The biggest school in the country didn't have wrestling until 1993 when I was in 7th grade. So I ended up going out for the wrestling team in 9th grade. I started out at heavyweight. So I was like 205 pounds or so. And at 185 pounds, there was another kid that was a really good wrestler that I couldn't beat at the time. It was my first year. So I decided not to try to wrestle him off. And I ended up going up to heavyweight. I did really well. And in 10th grade, I ended up going back to 189 pounds, and I ended up actually beating that kid that was beating me, in 9th grade and 10th grade, and I took the starting position, and I ended up wrestling 189 the rest of my high school career. Then my first two years in college were at 197 pounds. But at this point, I was like 240, and you could see my abs at this point. Like I wasn't ripped. You know, I'm kind of a fat body type of person anyways. I got a little bit thicker skin. And at the same time, though, I was pretty lean at 235, 240 and trying to cut down to 197. It was ridiculous, right? So my junior year, I decided to go up to heavyweight, right? So at the same time, the heaviest I had ever been was probably about 255, somewhere in that range. So, you know, the heavyweight wrestling class in college is 285 pounds. Right. So as I was, you know, going through this, I end up going from the opposite where I'm cutting 40 pounds of weight every year to try to, you got to remember, I also played football up until my freshman year of college. So I was trying to keep my size on. So then, you know, I end up having to gain weight. So I was literally taking meal replacement shakes with my meals, 3 meals a day, trying to keep the weight on. And every year at nationals, for Division II nationals at the end, you know, in the middle of March when we would have our tournament, I would go from 255 or so down to 225, 226. I literally weighed in the same weight both days, both weigh-ins, both years at nationals at 226 and a half, which I remember that because it was weird. I usually weighed in around 228, 229, but I for whatever reason, maybe it was nervousness, I wasn't eating as well or whatever it was. I was in really good shape, you know, at nationals. I was coming in a little bit lighter. So I had this, you know, really interesting experience where I had to cut all this weight, and then I had to figure out how to gain a lot of weight. And at the same time, you know, in a sport where body composition matters, right? There's no advantage in wrestling to be the fatter person, right? Maybe at heavyweight you can argue, you know, that it's there, but really you don't want to be a fatter version of yourself than you have to. So then while I was in college, I actually had a class that we took. It was before I declared in exercise science. It was called General Fitness and Weight Control. And it was like the aha moment. It's like every student athlete needs to take this class, right? Every wrestler definitely needs to take this class, and maybe every person in the United States needs to take this class, right? And again, probably every physical therapist needed to take this class, you know, and especially at this time, you know, things have changed a lot where you have, you know, we've talked about this before with the fitness freaks and the athletic freaks. You have more people out there now that are, you know, that are into CrossFit and fitness related type of things, but most across the board in physical therapy, you don't see it. Right. And so I really believe that this would be something that would be really beneficial for all physical therapists to do some type of, you know, formal class in general fitness and weight control. I don't know, Noah, is it a requirement at the University of Miami? Did you guys do anything like that?
We this past summer I took a like promotion and wellness course, and we had some nutrition electives, or not electives, like lectures going over like different diets and stuff and general nutrition, but it's really not necessarily a big chunk of our curriculum.